Hello and welcome to another manga review. So this is Centuria by Toru Kuramori, and Toru happens to be a former assistant of Fujimoto, who some of you may know as the mangaka behind Chainsaw Man. So the one of the assistants for Chainsaw Man is now doing his own series. The people behind Chainsaw Man seem to get a lot of good works out there done. Like you had Hell's Paradise, Dan to Dan, Spy X Family, like all of them used to work under Fujimoto. So yeah, I was kind of excited to see how this would go. And this is a dark fantasy. And you don't really see much dark fantasy with shonen series in general. Usually that's for like seinen stuff. And again, you get like the overly dark edgelord isekai kind of stuff. Of course, you get your non-isekai dark fantasies as well, but usually tends to fall under the isekai route. So yeah, to see a dark fantasy as a shonen is kind of interesting. And the basic premise is stowing himself away on a slave ship, Julian sets sail for the great continent with 100 slaves, all yearning for freedom, until embark on a groundbreaking journey through this action-packed dark fantasy saga. And yes, we start off with our main character. His name is Julian. He's called a kid. We never really get his age, but I'm guessing he's like maybe in his teens. He was sold as a slave by his mother when he was very young, and he was sold to a blacksmith. And the blacksmith used to teach him how to blacksmith, but he would burn Julian if he got even the littlest things wrong. So we see like Julian covered in like burn scars and stuff. In the very beginning, he had just attacked his master and is running away. And eventually he stows away on this ship that turns out to be a slave ship, and he gets caught. He's about to be executed when the slaves basically say, hey, like, he's just a kid. We'll split our portions with him. So just keep him on board. And so eventually they keep him on board. And one of the like first people to save, quote unquote, Julian is named Mira. And she's a pregnant woman, heavily pregnant woman. And I'm pretty sure you can see where this is going. Let's just say that the death flags for Mira were pretty obvious right from the start. And the more you read, the more death flags approach. So, yeah. But Julian basically just shares his story, which I already went over, and says that the whole reason he's on this ship is because he heard that you can have a great life on the continent. And so that's what he's trying to do. And as the story like kind of progresses, we see Julian getting closer and closer to Mira, not in a romantic sense, but in a child mother like sense. Because Julian explains that he assumed that mothers don't really care for their children because his mom sold him for a pittance when he was young and he's never seen her again. Meanwhile, Mira's doing everything that she can to protect her unborn child. And so he's starting to learn what it means for a mother to care for their child. So he starts growing closer and closer to Mira and starts seeing her as like a mother figure. And throughout this, we just see like how awesome the slaves are and how terrible the sailors are. I will say that I didn't care for this too much, just because I'm not saying slavers are good or anything like that, not at all. But it would be nice to have like a bit of nuance. But the fact that like all the slaves are basically like perfect, like they're all completely genuine. Not any of them are trying to backstab each other for more food or anything like that. Like they're all willing to sacrifice their portions to feed each other. Meanwhile, all of the sailors are just complete a-holes to the point where they're like constantly abusing the slaves. It's just like, I would have liked to see like if the sailors kind of took this as this is just a job. Like I don't have anything against these people, and if the slaves, if there was maybe a couple of them who were a little bit more greedy, like these people are starving, they're being worked to death on this ship, you would think some of them might want to like keep their portions of food to themselves, or maybe even try to attempt to take portions from others. You can even have like a moment where one of the slaves dies and then the other slaves are like fighting for like his clothing or his scraps or whatever. Like something like that. I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more nuance in this, but it's just like slaves definite good, sailors definite bad. But eventually we get to a point where like Mira and Julian become so close that Mira says, "Hey, like if you ever make it to the continent and we end up finding our way to be free, like we end up buying our freedom, why don't you come live with me? We can live together." And he's like, I'll think about it. But you can tell how much this has affected him. Like no one has ever shown him any love or kindness ever. This is the first time someone ever has, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. And like I said, like as we keep going, he falls in love with her. And when I say in love, no, he falls to love her, I should say, not in love, but to love her, in the sense that he loves her like a mother. Again, not a romantic thing going on between the two of them. This is like a child and a mother kind of relationship. But eventually, all the slaves get called up to the deck. It's like late at night. Storm is approaching, and they're kind of wondering like, what exactly are we doing out here? And then that's when the captain brutally murders one of the slaves, and he basically explains that all of you people, all of you slaves, are worthless. Like you're sick, you're children, you're pregnant, you're elderly, you're not able to do satisfactory work. Like I bought all of you for super cheap. And if I were to sell you, I probably wouldn't get that much. However, if there was to be a quote unquote accident, and I were to lose you all towards the sea, I would get more money from your death due to insurance, and I'd be able to easily make a profit. So his plan is he's going to kill all the slaves, dump their bodies over the sea. Then when he gets to the continent, he's going to basically say, hey, like a storm came, wiped out all my slaves, and then get insurance money. So once again, sailors being very, very evil, and they don't even fight back against the captain's orders. They easily go and start murdering the slaves. Eventually, they murder all the slaves except for Mira and Julian, who are like huddled against the side of the ship. And we even get a moment where the captain is like, every single last one of them protected the pregnant woman and the kid. Once again, we're showing how selfless these slaves are. And before they can kill Julian and Mira, all of a sudden this giant kraken shows up. And so we see all these like tentacles pop out and form into like this humanoid figure. So like we see a figure with human legs, human arms, but like the rest of it is just like a mesh of tentacles. And basically it asks Julian and Mira, like, do you wish to have my blessing? In order to have my blessing, you must first sacrifice a large number of souls. And then out of the two of you, one of you must sacrifice a pure love. And one of the conditions was already met, the huge sacrifice, because all the slaves are dead. So now, like, one of you must decide who will be my sacrifice. Since you two love each other, one of you has to sacrifice their love, which means that they would have to die, and the other one will live. So Julian's like, I'll be the one to do the sacrifice. Like he sees Mira, he sees her holding her pregnant child, and he's like, I can't let Mira die. Like she has to live so that she can have her baby and give the baby a loving mother. So he promises to sacrifice himself, and he's going to take his life. And so as he goes to offer his life, he looks back at Mira and he smiles. And she has a flashback to her previous son, who was around Julian's age when he died. And the reason he died was he died protecting his pregnant mother. And so Mira's like, I can't see my child die in front of me again. So she already lost one child. She doesn't want to lose another child in Julian. And so she decides she will be the sacrifice. So she takes out her husband's dagger, which she had stored, and she uses it to cut her belly open and basically pull out her child. So she gives herself a C-section right then and there. And basically says, like, I don't give a damn what happens to me. Just, I beg of you, please be born and live. And she's saying that to her child that she just pulled out of her own body. And she basically says the child's a girl. Her name is Diana. She hugs Julian, gives the baby to Julian, says, I love you both so much. And throws herself off the ship. And the Eldritch being is satisfied with that sacrifice and asks Julian, like, what is your wish? And Julian sees all the dead slaves. He sees all the sailors who have been frozen in time when the Kraken shows up. That's why no one is attacking the Eldritch Beast or Julian or any of that. It's because they're all frozen. So he sees all this, He hears like the captain's words about how the captain earlier told them that they were all scum and expendable. So Julian's wish is he wants proof that everybody's lives, all the slaves, that Mira's life wasn't a waste. And the creature's like, all right, then you'll have it. You may move now. And then he basically unfreezes the sailors. They all go to attack the Eldritch Beast as well as Julian. And that's when Julian unleashes these powers that he's been granted. And basically, he just goes and he starts slaughtering all of the sailors. And it's pretty cool. Like, we get like a pretty cool 2-page splash of just him butchering these sailors. And as he's doing this, the Eldritch Beast is basically explaining, I granted the life force of 100 slaves, their power, their speed, their endurance, their reflex, all have been combined and bestowed upon you. So basically, Julian now has the power of 100 slaves, the speed of 100 slaves, the endurance of 100 slaves, and the reflexes of 100 slaves, all combined into him. So yeah, he's basically like Superman. And yeah, he just slaughters all these sailors. And he goes to the child. And while he's going to the child, he gets dealt a killing blow. The captain, who's still alive, stabs him in the neck with his spear. And Julian drops to the floor and he thinks he's going to die. When all of a sudden, his neck heals. And he's confused. And that's when the Eldritch Beast says, you have nothing to fear. It should go without saying that you've gained 100 lives as well. So now Julian has 99 lives. So there's 99 times that he can basically escape death. And so, yeah, he brutally murders the captain, climbs onto an escape raft with the small child that Mira cut out of her body. And as he's drifting away, he sees the Kraken just grab the ship and pull it under the sea. And the Kraken basically explains that since you offered the sea something you held dear, the sea will no longer bear its fangs at you. And this boat is going to reach shore within a day, so you don't even need to row. May fortune favor you. And then Julian just kind of looks down at the child and says his entire life, he's never had anything valuable in his possession. And now he does, which is the child. And that's how the first chapter ends. And so I will say that the artwork is really good. Action is really good. There's a lot here that's intriguing. Like the whole 100 power, like the powers of 100 people all combined together into one and having 100 lives. Like that's kind of cool. I will say that some of the issues that I have was just, as I already kind of explained, the lack of nuance between the like 100% evil sailors and 100% good slaves. The fact that the way he got his powers seems kind of Deus Ex Machina. Like they're all about to be killed and all of a sudden this thing just shows up and it's like, here, I'll grant you all these powers. You just have to sacrifice one thing. And it's just like, why did he choose Julian or Mira? Like, why did he come to them? Why didn't he offer the sailors anything? Because maybe the sailors had something that they loved that they would sacrifice for powers. Like, why did he specifically ask those two? Why did he show up at that point in time? And then just how he like explains everything. It's pretty much, I don't know, it's kind of funny because like I read comics where we see heroes developing their powers, like they unlock it for the first time and they don't learn everything at once. Like they slowly learn how to use their powers over time, like throughout the issues. Here, everything is explained to us right from the get-go. Like the creature explains exactly like what your powers are, how you got those powers, and the fact that you can escape death 100 times. Like everything's just straight up told to us. I also feel like there's no point in this chapter where we kind of paint where the story is going to go, like what the goal is. So I mean, like, I don't know, like you take Naruto for example, and the goal of Naruto is for Naruto to become Hokage. You take One Piece where Luffy explains that his goal is to find the One Piece and become the king of pirates. Like you have stuff like that where there's a clear goal stated to us right in the beginning, and then we're going through the series trying to see our character reach that goal. There's no clear goal here other than he's going to protect this kid, but there's no like how is he going to protect the kid? Like, he can literally, like, whenever he lands on land, he can just live his life on the beach, build a house, and then raise this kid, and it can be like a slice of life. Obviously that's not where this is going, but I'm just saying that's what's the clear end goal for this. I don't know, and it's not really told to us. But again, these are just kind of like nitpicks. And then I guess the final one would just be that I feel this manga really hits the ground running. It's kind of super fast paced. Like I said before, it kind of explains everything to us rather than like the end goal. It just like throws everything at us at once. So like we see these characters and we see Mira and Julian and their mother-son relationship developing, but I feel like it's not enough. We didn't get to spend enough time with them or with the rest of the slaves so that when they do die, it means something, like it's impactful. I mean, if we had stretched this out a little bit, like maybe a couple of chapters of life on this ship and developing these relationships, then when the huge sacrifice comes and all of them are brutally killed and things, it would have hit more. But at the same time, I completely understand like the way the manga business is now. You basically have to almost get a hit right from the get-go. Like you have to hit the ground running and never stop, because if you're not a success within the first couple of chapters, you're basically like the axe is just looming over your head. So I completely understand them doing that. But because they did that, it just, some of the emotional impacts don't impact me as much. Maybe it will for you. But yeah, for me, it was like I saw the death flags coming right from the get-go. And I felt like we didn't spend enough time with these characters so that when the death actually happened, it was as emotional as the author was hoping it would be. But with all that said, I did really enjoy this series. I am looking forward to seeing where it goes. It's nice to see a good, brutal, dark fantasy manga series that's not like your typical edgelord isekai. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to where this goes. It reminded me very much of like Vinland Saga meets a not as dark version of Berserk. Maybe it'll get that dark. I doubt it because this is a shonen. But yeah, it's kind of like a more tamed version of Berserk meets Vinland Saga. And it's like, I love both those series. So yeah, I'm totally on board with this. So yeah, I thought this was really good. Go check it out. I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can read it. But obviously a good start. It has its faults. Every series does. But the faults aren't enough to ruin this for me. I thought this was a really good start, and I'm really looking forward to see where Toru is going to take this. So yeah, there you go. There's Centuria. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.